All right, guys. So I figured that I would go through some of these problems that are on worksheet 10. So what I want to do is I'm going to go over some of the questions that seem a little bit harder. And then hopefully this will help you for your test on Monday. All right, so let's start off with this first equation here that we need to make sure that we write the equation correctly. And then, of course, we balance it correctly. All right, so it says we have octane that is going through combustion. So if you remember, combustion is going to be a hydrocarbon in the presence of oxygen that yields carbon dioxide and water, okay? So that's going to be, hold on, let me make sure that my pen is operating properly. That is going to be C8, there we go, C8, H18, and that's in the presence of oxygen. So that's going to be oxygen with an O. And then, of course, you know that oxygen is part of the Magnificent Seven, so it does not exist by itself. And then it's going to yield carbon dioxide and water. Okay. So now I want you to remember the rules for balancing of combustion equations. It is carbon first. I'm going to put it over here. Carbon. Second is going to be hydrogen. And then third is going to be oxygen. And then, of course, the last rule is that if you end up with a decimal or fraction in your coefficients, you need to multiply all of your coefficients by 2. All right, so let's do this. I have 8 carbon on one side. That means I need 8 on that side. So remember, whenever you're trying to balance, you're going to use coefficients, not subscripts. All right, I have 18 hydrogen on one side. That means I need 18 to get that. I'm going to put a 9 on the right side, and then I need to deal with my oxygen. So I have 16 oxygens here. I have 9 oxygens here. That gives me a total of 25 oxygens. All right. So obviously 25 is going to be an odd number and does not evenly divide. So if I were to write my coefficient, this would be my coefficient. It'd be 25 over 2. Now, once again, remember the last rule. If we have a decimal or fraction, we need to multiply all of our coefficients by 2. So I'm going to take my coefficient for my octane, which is 1. I'm going to multiply that by 2. Then I'm going to take my coefficient for my oxygen, and I'm going to multiply that by 2, and I'm going to end up with 25. I'm going to multiply my coefficient here. So 8 times 2 is going to be 16. And then I'm going to multiply my 9 by 2, which means that my coefficient for my water is going to be 18. All right. And once you do all of that, that is your balance. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this information so that we can move on to the next thing, and that is answering the equation, or answering the question, not the equation, excuse me. All right, so it says that you're starting off with 5 moles of carbon dioxide, and it basically wants you to calculate the mass of octane. So remember your molar map. Excuse me. We are going to go from mole of carbon dioxide to mole of octane to gram of octane. Okay. First conversion, remember mole to mole, we are going to use the mole ratio. And then mole to gram, we are going to use the molar mass. So we are starting off with our 5 mole, and that's of CO2. I'm going to put that over 1. And then I'm going to start building this. So mole ratio is next. So mole of carbon dioxide on the top, mole of carbon dioxide on the bottom, mole of what you're going to on the top, which is going to be octane. Use your coefficient. So the coefficient for octane is going to be 2. And then the mole for, or the coefficient for carbon dioxide is going to be 16. Okay. And then we're going to go mole of octane on top, mole of octane on the bottom, gram of octane on top. Apparently, I decided to drop some some hydrogens in my octane, and then your molar mass is 1 mole has a mass of 114.18. Okay. As always, make sure your units cancel. Mole of CO2, mole of CO2, mole of octane, mole of octane. Do the math. Take 5, multiply by 2, divide by 16, multiply by 114, and you should get an answer of 71.4 grams of octane. Okay, so if we're being proper, that's what you would put up here on this line as your answer. Okay, hopefully that was helpful.